It's 1st of July already at 4:30. We have a special meeting. Let's say the pledge first and we'll start our meeting.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're here for a public hearing, and Nathan, I guess, wrote this resolution up.
As you all have been made aware by the assessor and auditor, Des Moines TPE LLC, the parent company that operates Vander Haag's, was late in filing their annual compliance documentation. And in order for you to consider whether or not even to review them for substantive compliance, you first must hold a public hearing and then adopt a resolution approving a waiver of compliance after the hearing has been closed. You have copies of that resolution 2024-04 in front of you. And essentially what it says is if you pass it, it was a clerical error. We're okay with passing them on this stage, and then we will review them for substantive compliance. If you do not pass it, then you don't even review whether or not their job totals and investment totals match what they promised. You're saying, come back next year, but you didn't get it in time, and that is not our fault. Yes, now you just need to see if anyone from the public wishes to address you about this.
Is there any public comment on this? Yeah, So if this doesn't pass, we're not getting rid of Vander Haag.
Just for this year, you would deny it.
Just this year.
And then next year, they would be able, assuming they got the documentation in timely next year, then you could review it for compliance in terms of investment, jobs, and salaries.
But if we pass this one, we can later.
If you pass this resolution, then you are giving yourself the permission to review them for the jobs, salaries, and investment. You might still find that they didn't create enough jobs or pay the salaries they said and still not find them compliant, but you're not going to deem them for late submission if you pass this.
Okay. What the board wants to do here. Vote A or nay on this, right? Ain't a motion.
I'm not sure how to word it, but I'd make the motion to not due to the lateness to not give the abatement for this year.
That sound like that. Good motion made that way. Yeah, I hear a second. I got a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried. Public meeting's closed.
All right, well, we've addressed the first thing I had for you. As the second thing I have is also in your packets, the second pages 2 and 3, ordinance 2024-03. And this is the ordinance approving the tax abatement guidelines, scoring rubric, and application that we reviewed at last month's meeting. And if you pass this, then the requirement to submit the application will go into effect immediately, and the $250 fee will go into effect on the 1st of August once I have put a public notice in the paper.
Entertain a motion. Pass this.
I'll make it.
Got a motion to pass this as presented for a second. Motion second, all in favor?
Discussion?
Yeah, we got one.
Okay. So what happens if you have a company that comes into our county and they meet all the criteria that you have here, but none of us really want them. It's a company that we do not want in our county. You're going to set yourself up for lawsuits.
So there is language in these rules that says these are relatively objective criteria, but by submitting the application, the business recognizes that the council has the right to deviate from it as they deem appropriate. You just have to be able to put it in writing when you say we're voting it. Either it should get a 5-year abatement and you only want to give it a 3, or you think it's not worth the abatement, worth it at all. There is that room for you to deviate as long as you have justification for it.
I myself would rather use it as a guideline.
And that's how it's worded. It is. It gives you the guideline that says, okay, based on investment, capital, real property investment, personal property investment, jobs, and wages, it should be a 12-year abatement. But we don't like that. It is a guideline as long as you guys can put something in writing as to why you're deviating. You're not bound by it as long as you can justify this decision. If you just don't like Joe Schmo, that's not going to fly. But if you say we fear, and there are also, let's say you don't want it because you have concerns about adverse environmental impact. There is a section in there where the Economic Development Commission can say, well, it should be a 74, but we're subtracting 6 points because we have concerns about this and that. So that'll all be documented as well. But it is ultimately a guideline that gives the council a direction, but from which you can deviate as long as you put it in writing why.
So why do we need it? We have this in just as a guideline versus why do we need to adopt this?
If you don't want to, you don't want to, but this gives you a little bit of ability to have a rationale to justify why this company got a 10-year abatement, but this one only got a 2-year abatement. Instead of the historic perspective where, oh, they're requesting a tax abatement, boom, done. This gives you a baseline for objectively defending the rationale behind not giving what we've always given, basically. Whether we give a more robust one or a less robust one, it gives you a starting point so that you're not just kind of guessing, oh, I think it should be a 5-year abatement. You're saying, I think it should be a 5-year abatement because they're not creating enough jobs for a 10-year abatement, or they're not paying enough wages for a 10-year abatement, or both.
And Holly had a meeting that was really good, and he basically told us that this kind of document is becoming more the norm, right?
I believe what he said that, and he said larger counties particularly use it.
Because they get so many. Because, he was kind of impressed by us doing it. And he said because you can throw it out the next day if you don't like it. Because the council has the final say on it all. If you don't like the ordinance or whatever, he said, just change it. That's what he said. Steve.
May I ask the question as the assessor, and I'm sorry, Nathan, I did read through it, but it's been a while.
Sure.
We had talked about it one time, putting a clause in there about filing appeals. Is that part of this?
That is not part of this document. That's part of a separate resolution that I think the council should revisit and amend separately. But that's already on the books. But right now, the way it's on the books, the council has to make a conscious decision at each request.
Do we have any more discussion?
That's part of that same resolution. Yep. No, the clawback is part of resolution 2021-06. It addresses both clawbacks and appeals, but it requires the council to make a conscious decision at each abatement. So far, the only times the council has ever implemented that has been on solar projects. It hasn't on any of the other few abatements that have come in front of it since they adopted it in mid-21. Yeah.
Notice.
Oh, it'll be shared with the applicant. I mean, it'll be shared with the public and the applicant so that everyone knows exactly how the council and the EDC are making their decisions. I'd have to speak with council, but I don't know if the council can adopt a resolution approving something without the documents that are part of the ordinance being public.
Okay, we have any more discussion? Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed? Motion carried.
That's all I have for you.
Like that's all we have.
So I sent you all the information for the abatements for 2024, pay 2025. Are you adopting that now, or are we waiting for the regular council meeting on next week, on the 17th?
I think the expectation when we had this conversation last month was it would do it now so that you would have a little more time to get everything reported.
I do remember.
It was on the agenda. Yeah, yes.
You sent an email with a
Yes.
form, but that thing flips around there, it's straight to where you could read the deck on it. I'd be willing to look at a paper copy of that.
Well, Holly, whose office, you guys look at this, right?
The resolution.
Now the tax abatement.
Compliance documents.
Part of it came from Paul. This is the
That's
first
the thing
property.
I could never read.
So that would be up to Holly to describe. Not to tell you, there's standard industrial supply and standard integrated solutions that you have absolute no jurisdiction over. That was approved by town, council, and you cannot trump them on what they've approved. So it just comes to me to apply it to your property. Okay, so then the other group is Fratco, has personal property. They have a deduction in their asset value of $107,960. The Braun Corporation, $252,180. Metal Fab Engineering of $42,450. And then Eden Valley is $1,435,760. That's for the personal property.
And and I'll add, if that's all right, to it, that they're all in compliance. Each year, it's gonna go down, so as long as it wasn't the first year, it's not gonna be at 100%. However, you will see, well, I don't think that you couldn't read the report, okay. Let's see, the Ron Corporation has, their length of theirs is 10 years, it was approved in 2013, so this is gonna be their last year. Bradco, theirs was approved, well, it looks like the length of their abatement is 1 year, and that amount was correct as far as the entire standard industrial, that was approved by the town. But if I can tell you that it's a 10-year abatement, 2018 was when it was approved. Also, standard integrated was approved by the town, and that one was for 10 years, and it was approved in 2018. And Eden Valley is a 10-year abatement, and that was approved in 2019. So there, like Laura said, there's only 2 that the town council approved. The rest of them were approved by the county. So my job, when I'm looking at their returns that they file each year, is to make sure that they're in compliance. And if they're not, then I bring it to your attention. But the reason I went ahead and sent that to you this time was because I knew Vander Haag had filed an appeal in my office, but they also filed for wanting the abatement. So,
And weren't they supposed to be here today?
Yes, or they had an opportunity to be there.
So we didn't know if they were coming or not.
So if everyone's in compliance, if
No,
everyone's
no.
in compliance, I mean,
Yeah, and that, we had McKinney here, and he told us he only had so many days. I think that's why we had our special meeting this time, is because if not, the next meeting, it wasn't too long. If you don't do it today, it just passes anyway.
so what do you need, like a motion to,
Motion to approve all the abatements except for Vander Haag, which you denied the waiver on.
okay, so I'll make a motion to approve all the compliant tax abatements that are already in progress.
I'll second.
Got a motion, a second, to approve all the tax abatements that are in compliance. Discussed. All those in favor, by raising your right hand. Opposed? Carried.
Jim seconded that motion, right?
I seconded it.
So the count was 5-1.
Anything else for this special meeting? All that's on the agenda. Further business will adjourn.